Yo, it's Friday, October 14th. We're looking at new rises in auto and sports. Sony and Honda, Hyundai, Pickleball, and that's Jeff Villa. There it is. Even Jeff's, he's getting in on the jams.
Start on my dance.
He said when the automotive troublemaker comes on, that's it. That's all you get of me. I dance then. Jeff, how are you this morning, sir?
Oh, I'm doing well. It's Friday. It's Friday. What else can I say? This is it. I'm going home after this. I'm going to call it a half day and get
You're
out
like, this will be enough work for one day. We'll get done with the pod.
Yeah, it's already cutting into my nap time.
So if you don't know, Jeff Villa is the digital marketing director, right? I got that title right? With Smale Auto Group.
12 years as of Tuesday. Yeah.
Wow, look at that. 12 years. That's impressive. Yeah. That's impressive for most in the automotive industry. I will say that. Ben has Jeff is bouncing. Ben loves getting he gets excited about the bounce. Jeff, if the people don't know, you know, one of at least my personal claim to your fame is that you've done this crazy thing by monetizing the group's YouTube channels. And I just think that's like, just for the people out there to know, like, think outside the box, because you were able to do that over the last 6-7 years, and to be able to get a YouTube account to that level is really thinking outside the box. So yeah,
it took some time, and then YouTube made an announcement last year that no matter what, they're going to run ads on your channel whether you were monetized or not. And I'm like, well, wait a second. We get maybe 500,000, 600,000 views a month across all of our channels. We have 10 channels, 10 franchises, and I know that 90% of my views aren't in my backyard. They're globally, which is fine, because I'm looking for that local, hyper local, like who's the best Honda dealer locally. I'm going to win that search. So my theory was, hey, if Google's going to cash in on this, I'm going to take half of it. I'm not going to let them get all of it. I'll take half of the revenue share. And, we've been investing in equipment. I took my team to a conference, and, just this past week in Cleveland, we had a great time. And we're reinvesting the stuff that Google's paying us to make these videos for YouTube now. So we're going to use the money. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, here's the thing. The reason I started with that is because I think that the theme of today is auto dealers looking for new places for both revenue streams and advertising dollars. And so as we get into the stories today, I just want you to know, like, if Jeff Villa and the Smale Auto Group can monetize their YouTube, you can probably find some new ways to figure out how to have your business monetized and your business dive into the community. So what do you say we get into it? So just a couple months after announcing their new partner company, Sony and Honda, which they announced Sony Honda Mobility just a couple months ago, announced a plant to be built in North America, and all the people said amen. Citing tax incentives both on the seller and purchaser side, the partnership in North America is the logical starting point for production and sales. So looks like 2026 is the first time that they're going to have dealerships. There's yet to be conversation on how sales or aftermarket purchases or anything like service are going to be had. And actually in the Auto Genius community yesterday, it was kind of raised this question, Jeff, like, I haven't seen much mention of the dealer network in this communication, right?
Yes, nothing's mentioned right now at that point. And so little conspiracies start to bubble up, and we start talking about little things and bouncing ideas, and all just speculation. How could this play out long term? So you got to get in the Auto Genius group if you're not there.
There you go. Well, so it's interesting because this is the first time that we've seen an auto manufacturer start, the Honda being from Japan, they are actually starting manufacturing in the US, and the first imports to Japan are going to be exports from North America. And so it's interesting because we've seen kind of like these partnerships popping up about tech partners and OEMs learning from tech. Mizuno said at the Tokyo briefing, one of the Japanese companies, Honda's major executives, he said, we'd like to form this company as a whole new automaker, completely different from anything else. Our goal is to not become an ordinary car manufacturer, but to become a new mobility tech company centered on software technology. Now, Jeff, I got a question. Like, from your perspective, do you see automakers being able to make the jump, like realistically, to not just being auto companies, but actually being tech companies?
I know I'm practical. I want my car to go from point A to point B. I don't care so much about it. Whoa, look at, whoa, was it flashing on you? Yeah.
Right.
The technology, let's be honest, automotive tech from automotive manufacturers isn't spectacular, right?
Yep.
I'm always going to get a better experience from a Google, from my Apple iPhone, from Google Maps. The experience is better. I want somebody who can give me the experience I need in my car. Tech companies can do that exponentially better than automotive companies can. And there's a 20-year track record of, stuff that's in cars right now from the auto dealers or from the automakers. So I want that technology to do, and I want to see the Fords and everybody. They're introducing Apple Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, which makes the car experience better because we're infusing the tech into the car. That's where we want.
Do you think that with the partnership with Sony that there's an opportunity to do something similar? Like, do you think Sony can have enough say in the way the technology works? Because, Sony's PlayStation, Sony thinks in user experience. Do you think that relationship allows that? Or do you think like a Honda or any other manufacturer is going to continue to kind of not push the boundaries because of the need to R&D around the actual vehicle technology?
I think it lets Honda take that in-car experience next level in a way the Honda isn't going to be able to do. That partnership could be, pretty spectacular internal, ride experience.
Yep, absolutely. I think the other piece of this is like, hey, if you're a dealer and you're a Honda dealer, it's a great conversation to start having with your local, your district, your regional, the national reps on like, how can we play a part in this? And I think that that's the better, instead of coming at it on like, oh, you're not mentioning dealers. It's like, how do we play a part in this? How do we get involved, and how do we strike, a partnership with the dealer network with this new OEM that they're creating to create benefit for consumers? Well, speaking of partnerships,
segue.
Looks like Hyundai is really pushing into the air taxi conversation. They've got a new collaboration with Honeywell, which Honeywell is one of the largest manufacturers of technology in the aerospace technology space. That was a lot of spaces. But it looks like under the collaboration, Honeywell will work with Supernal, which is Hyundai's US-based eVTOL form, which is a whole long acronym, to explore integration of the aerospace supplier's Anthem flight deck into the air taxis, which are slated to enter commercial service in 2028. Meaning, Jeff, flying around your city could be little air taxis hovering up, flying around, figuring out how to get people from place to place. And it's tough for me to see a future like that, but I mean, that's only like what, 6 years away. We're talking that they're slating to see these partnerships come to fruition. And like the models, I think we just threw a photo up, the models of these air taxis, like they're big things. Like, I wouldn't want to be caught flying one of those guys,
I think about how long did it take air travel with planes to become safe? It was like commercially, it was probably like a 20-30 year window before you really felt pretty safe getting on a plane. I might not do this in my lifetime. I'll be honest with you.
Right.
6 years from now, I'm not going to be the first guy going up in the taxi copter.
No, there's no way. Well, and I mean, obviously, like there's a long time history now of helicopters and planes and things like that. But like low to ground, like how do we get pilots? The FAA, the U.S. organization around some of the laws and considerations for aircraft certification are still looking at like, how do we talk about where these can take off, where they can land, where can they go, how do we air traffic control this? Because like, so I think Colby Joyner. Colby used to be an air traffic controller. He's like, that's one of the most stressful jobs on the planet, right? Add a whole nother complexity of like low to ground, air traffic. But still encouraging that an OEM is trying to find their way in this. And it's interesting that like OEMs are trying to find these new revenue streams, these new ways to exert transportation. And I think for I'm a good friend with Liza Borchis, who you may have met at ASOTU, but she's like, we just want to solve the transportation needs of consumers, right?
Yeah.
And so I think dealers, like, how do we solve transportation needs is just the question that we need to be asking. You know, not many more thoughts on that. I'm like, I'm not getting in a dang plane with a guy in
They seem
downtown.
dangerous if like you get dropped off in the middle of the street. There's a lot of open blades on the corners of everything, like someone's gonna get hurt.
There's just blades everywhere. People's hats flying off everywhere. Every ASOTU family member is like, my hat, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to get a cheeseburger. I took out a couple people.
Yes, exactly. Well, we've got one more story today, and this is one that I'm pretty excited about, and I swear we'll get to a tie down here for automotive. And Jeff's really excited about this too. But we're talking pickleball. Jeff, can you just real quick before we get into the story, can you explain to the people a little bit about what pickleball is and this new kind of like growing community sport in the US ecosystem?
Yeah, as a kid, if you ever played ping pong and you ever played just a dabble of tennis or maybe racquetball, you will fall in love with pickleball. It's almost like being shrunk down in the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And you're literally playing on the smaller court. It's like you're playing on top of the table of a ping pong table. And it is fast paced. You're playing with like some people have graphite paddles and almost like a wiffle ball. And you're just smacking this ball. It has a great pop sound to it. And you got to stay out of the kitchen. We'll talk about that maybe a little bit. But you don't go in the kitchen. But it's so fast paced and it's all reaction time, and it's a lot of fun. I got people goofed on the way the sport grew over the pandemic, but I'm part of that, and it's amazing. It's a great sport.
Well, yeah, you said the whole like the way it pops when it comes off the racket. It is kind of this like ridiculously satisfying sound, like the way that a racket hits a tennis ball is kind of like whack, but this is definitely more of a pop, and it's like that satisfying type of sound.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible the way that just that sound. Oh, I love it.
Well, apparently a lot more people love it because just recently Tom Brady and Kim Clijsters, so Kim Clijsters was former world #1 in tennis, have partnered to purchase a 2023 expansion team in what's called the MLP, so Major League Pickleball. Also, Sam Querrey, who was a former world #11 at 2-time Wimbledon, so on the tennis side, semifinalist, announced that he was going to step away from the ATP, which is the Tennis Professionals Tour, and he was going to move into Major League Pickleball. So he's taking pickleball as like a professional career at this point. And even other team owners in Major League Pickleball are people like LeBron James, Draymond Green, Drew Brees, Kevin Love. Like that's absolutely insane that some of this like community sport that probably started at a retirement home as kind of like the first place that it happened is now taking the world by storm in this like new craze around pickleball. We're seeing pickleball courts pop up all over the place. Like you can fit 3 pickleball courts on a basketball court, so the space is super easy to happen. And like you said yourself, you're kind of in this new, the pandemic kind of created a craze around pickleball. But auto has not been left out at this point. Jeff, this is crazy. Recently, Carvana became the title sponsor for the PPA, the Professional Pickleball Association, which is kind of like the organizing association around both amateur and professional events. And here's the statement from Carvana. At Carvana, we believe that driving happiness can extend beyond buying, selling, and trading in cars. Our promise is to create joyful experiences for our customers at every turn. So this year, we're partnering with the Professional Pickleball Association to serve up smiles with the fastest growing community sport in America, said Ryan Keaton, Carvana co-founder and chief brand officer. In the same spirit as making vehicle ownership straightforward and accessible to everyone, we're helping make pickleball one of the most accessible sports in America by championing players of all levels all season long with the sport's premier professional league. They're getting in early, Jeff. Like, that's an early market move, in my opinion, Yeah,
I've seen a couple because there's live stream tournaments on YouTube all the time. And I've seen like Nissan and Mitsubishi in there. maybe not so much Mitsubishi anymore, but Mitsubishi Electric probably was probably what I saw. But
Right.
there are OEMs, pouring money into that space, just like Major League Soccer or baseball or football. The audience is there, and you'll see there's like when there's a tournament in Vegas or California, it's like these little mini Wimbledons. They put up stands and bleachers, and they're surrounded with people, and it's a whole it's like a carnival almost. There's music and there's stuff going on in the background. It's pretty impressive.
And I think people could see this as like, still like ESPN, the Ocho, kind of the funny sports are out there, but this is actually past that. It's not just like spike ball. Like this is becoming a real thing. Like large entrants are getting into it. But here's the interesting thing for me, Jeff, is anytime you have one of these new things, like last year with NIL coming out, where college students can now use name, image, and likeness to monetize, and create revenue streams for themselves. And the early dealers that got the best value for the money spent. In my opinion, like especially in the local community on these up and coming minor leagues or little, local associations, this is a great place for a dealer to connect themselves to fun, connect themselves to community. Like the pickleball community is actually pretty tight right now. It's kind of like, oh, you do, yeah, we both do pickleball. This is a thing. It's not so much like the football community.
And I'm questioning my whole marketing strategy now. We're in Western Pennsylvania. It's an old population. I should be popping up pickleball courts all over the place. Sponsored by Smale Auto Group.
There you go. Hey, and look, you've got that leverage. You're like, I want to be the local authority for all of the types of vehicles that these people could want. And there's a wide swath of amazing people that could purchase and get into the ecosystem. And so if you're kind of the early mover on a local business, like we're seeing these global businesses, these national businesses press in, but if you're the early mover on a local business, you're going to get a higher level of attention than anyone else. Well, hey, look, Jeff, it's been so fun. Thanks for joining us this morning. For those that are out there kind of looking for new ways, looking for places to jump in and find new monetization opportunities, keep your eyes up. They're everywhere.